Food production is doing very well given all the weird work we did last week, getting at least a little bit of stuff happening, and everybody seems to be happy with it, at least for right now. We've got all kinds of goodies to be consuming. Hello, everybody. This is Frogman. Welcome back to Captain of Industry. I almost forgot what game I was playing for a second there. Other things have popped up in my brain, and I've kind of started back down a couple of other little rabbit holes because of some recent updates with some other games. But we'll continue this one, and we may discuss that later on. That may be a later date project. Anyhow, everything seems to be working. We're doing okay. I think we're going to have a little bit of an issue as we continue on down the line, because running all of this wide open to fill boxes definitely showed the stress on the fact that we still do not have enough farms. And I know, I need some more farms. Part of the reason, again, why we did a bunch of clearing up here was so that I could build a bunch of farms. This is probably, again, going to be a stopgap, or we will be using this specific area possibly just for the maintenance of things such as sugarcane and canola, because this is very usable for us as far as being a resource that we can use to replace other things that we will eventually run out of. So 90% of the stuff that we're going on with over here right now is, well, I guess we can kind of talk about this. We do need to do a little bit of a discussion today, because there's been some things that I've been watching as we've been playing, or as I've been playing through this. I've been attempting to try to do a little bit of research here and there. And again, we're just kind of, as we get a little bit of time, we'll do it. I did finally get the ship upgraded to the highest level of engine that it can have, I believe. Ship designer, yeah, we're up here. I went ahead and researched that. The reason why we're going to sit down and talk a little bit is because there's going to be some serious base rebuilding that needs to happen. Base rebuilding and upgrading. One of the main things that we're going to do now that we have all this food going, and like I said, now that we have the possibility of maybe doing something that is renewable, is that we need to start seriously thinking about how we can make oil better and how we can make this better. Now, I'm not in the mode exactly right now to start rebuilding oil, but again, as we've stated, I think we're going to move the majority of this mess down into this area. It's going to get... I'm going to grab this and do a similar thing, such as about like that, just as an idea, and rotate it. It's going to get rotated and stuff down in here. I'm going to have to move a couple of storages. But essentially what I want to do is I want to at least double the amount of processing that we have as far as oil is concerned. Because if I screw up, and this is kind of one of those things, if I screw up and I forget to make sure that our power is functioning correctly, and I manage to let this thing run down a very long time, it takes it a very long time to fill it back up. So we definitely need to work on more oil production. Part of the oil production processing thought, though, is that because we're capable of making both sugarcane and canola, we can produce diesel from both of those two things, if I can spell. Diesel fuel can be produced with ethanol and cooking oil. That's pretty simple, easy to do. Both of those are not that hard to make. I mean, as we know already, we're just looking at it, whereas it's right here. We basically take sugarcane, add a little bit of water to it, and that makes sugar for us, plus a little bit of leftovers, as well as we can just take the canola, grind it straight out into cooking oil, and go from there. That's the majority of what we're doing. The biggest issue, again, though, is that plastic, I do believe, is not creatable from anything other. Well, I guess I can make it from ethanol. So in reality, we could just get completely away from the oil if we wanted to. I think we can get completely away from it. I'd have to look. I mean, I'm not digging down that far into the lines of how things go. But yeah, we're definitely going to need to start working on moving towards more production in both oil and power. And so I think, given the fun stuff that we've been doing recently, and the fact that every time I try to do any kind of amount of research now, even if it's just running these two labs or all four of them, we completely tank our power. And I mean completely, to the point that even with my little backup generator that is currently over here chilling, we're not able to get up. I know, I keep saying I'm going to do these things, and I keep saying it, and I keep saying it, and I keep saying it. My major issue is supporting 500 people to do nothing more than just do stuff for us. Right now, I don't need anything in here other than, maybe some of the food consumption would be nice, or profitability, some of that interesting things. We're going to get into this. I'm going to get into this. I promise I'm going to get into this, because it's going to help us very much later on. right now I don't feel like feeding that 500 people. I just really don't feel the need to feed that 500 people. I'd like to put 500 people to work making more power for us. So our biggest next issue here, and again, we're going to go through this. Idling right now, we're not eating a whole lot of coal. It's just mainly keeping this side running with an occasional spin over here, and I think I could probably shut a few things down. Like, I think I could probably knock off half of the glass right now. I could just shut off half of this glass, and we wouldn't have a problem. I mean, how much is this worth? They're 500 kilowatts each, so theoretically, I could probably let this idle, shut half of this off, and we could save a decent amount of power. The same thing with these things. They use 300 kilowatts each. Idling, I don't need all 4 of them. I think I only need 2 idling. But that's not a fix. That is absolutely not a fix. And, well, coal power, you can run coal power to the end of the game if you want to. And theoretically, if you really wanted to, you could get fancy and, again, make some kind of a fuel out of these 2 things. I mean, I believe I can actually burn ethanol. If I really cared, I can burn ethanol in a boiler, and it will produce the same amount of stuff for us. And it's not a terrible amount of ethanol. But the thing is well, I need 48 steam per minute times 8 in order to be able to move away completely from coal, which means 54 ethanol per minute to move completely away from coal if I wanted to go to a more environmentally friendly source and stop burning coal on the map. Now, there's a lot of coal still out on the map. There's still at least one more thing out here, and I think we can even do a couple of other little things. But yeah, I mean, I'm running off of this one right now. And sure, we could do a little bit of stuff. But that's not endgame stuff, and we need to start talking about endgame power. So, endgame power, for those of you that don't know or haven't been playing the game thus far, is nuclear. And part of the reason why I have a dock sitting right here is the fact that we are going to call in a new ship, and we're going to start working through nuclear. We need to start working through nuclear. It's not going to be sustainable long term to do anything other than nuclear on these kinds of things. I refuse, and I mean this, I refuse to run solar because the resources that go into solar can be better used to make science. Their solar process is not solar works on a large scale. Like I said, as far as, I guess we can talk about solar very quickly while I let that all build. I need this to go ahead and all build right now so that we can start hauling uranium in from a mine, because we don't have a pathway over to that patch. So let's get that built, and we can talk about this a little bit. Solar, in my opinion, in this game, even though this, we don't have a day-night cycle, we do have a day-rain cycle. So solar does not work when it's raining, which I think it's raining. No, it's sunshiny right now. It is. Yeah, we're sunshiny right now, so we would be making power. There are multiple different ways to use solar, and solar can be used to do a couple of very fun things, to include storage with batteries and things. Where is it? I think it's this one. This thermal storage, there are ways to have fun with solar if you want to, in of the fact that you can take excess solar, store the energy you produce with solar, and shove it into a thermal storage. And then when the time comes for when, like, say, you have a burst of energy that you need, you can then convert the power that you shoved into a thermal storage back into steam, back into turning things. But it's complicated. It's kind of like, well, why would you do that? The other thing is with a map this big, you're finally able to put down enough solar to actually make it usable. So not that I'm saying don't do it. I'm just saying that for the amount of power and work and parts and pieces and whatnot you're going to get out of solar, you're going to need a map this big just to make it profitable. And you're still going to need a lot of flat surface. So I think what we're going to go do is we're going to let them build all of these little parts up, and we're going to start talking about the fun things that are going to happen. I.e., I thought somewhere out here I turned on a uranium mine. I think. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. Is this it? This is the one I upgraded, right? All right, I'm going to throw everybody in at 100 people. I don't know how I went from that to that. Oh, yeah, because we're doing those works there. And I want you to start working, and then we're going to go ahead and, again, hire a few people to keep up with what's going on. And I want that to fill up its stuff. So as soon as this shipyard is built, we'll have it go get some goodies for us. And then we're going to start with the pain that is early nuclear. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. See, like, this is what I mean. There is no reason for it to be this production slow, but because of the fact we had to fill a shipping yard full of diesel, which was 650 diesel, as well as one of these little guys, that's, what is it, 1,050 diesel, that again, it's just, we're just barely on the edge of keeping up with this. I think the production is just barely there. So this will be okay in a little bit, but at least we now have a new system, and as soon as they get that storage built, we should be all right. Now, uranium processing is a royal pain in the tail, and that's kind of the reason why I don't care to do this until we're actually shoved into a corner where we have to. I am not going to be getting rid of this system. It's going to be sitting right here probably. However, we're going to have to understand that, well, the water production that we're currently using for the majority of the base is based off of the steam that is coming out of, well, the depleted steam that's coming out of this system here, this power plant. Meaning that all of these thermal desalinators, the reason why they're making water at all is because the exhaust coming off of these low pressure turbines is providing the steam they need in order to be able to do the whatever this recipe is. I forget exactly what this one was called, but yeah, that's how this is working. So we can't really necessarily shut this off because we need at least to maintain some of this running, at least for the time being, while we convert everything over. What's probably going to happen, and I know this is going to be a while, I know that this is going to take a fair amount of surface area to the point that I may end up needing to move this. What I want to do with today's episode, at least for now, is we need to, first off, go ahead and, you guys, think you can get a little bit of stuff for us? Maybe, yes, sure, I'm going to unpause you, and round trip duration is 6 months, that's fine. We'll let that go when it's ready to go because there's going to be a whole bunch of things that we need to mess with. All right, so what we're going to end up doing is wandering down a chain of nasty, disgusting things. Uranium. Uranium ore powder is where we're going to go. We're going to need uranium ore, which is going to then get processed into uranium ore powder, which I believe then we need to process into something even smaller than that. So yeah, we need to process that into yellow cake, and that will give us some toxic slurry, of which we already kind of know what to play with. Processing all of that stuff is going to exist right here very, shortly. Now, what I do for certain want to do is at least be able to do what this thing is capable of doing as far as processing. So we're at 144 right now. I believe our current crushing capability is going to be able to do that, right? No, so that's 2 of them. All right, that's good to know. Let's get a crusher down. I'm just going to feed it straight off the back of this. We're going to have to kind of think about making this somewhat pretty. Water, I think we're going to gather it from over here. I'm going to essentially try to do, again, something kind of like this. That's not what I wanted. Control C here, copy that. I want to see if I can't get all of those guys in here. Okay, we should have enough room to get in here. And then what we'll do is I'm likely going to use the water from here to jumpstart that system so that it'll go to work and start making stuff. And then this section over here will be, because it's coming off of this, we've got 3 water systems right now, and I'd like to get them down to at least maybe 2, if at all possible. So once all of this is up and running and making power, we will then start to dismantle some of this. Now, what I am going to say is, as a nuke reactor, before we get too much into this, where is the power reactor? Just do a reactor. A nuke reactor, when you put it down, I'm not worried about it in here. It has the capability, once you crank it all the way up, of making, you're supposed to be able to tell me what we're doing. Right there, 288 steam. 288 steam, I think, if I recall correctly. These guys are 48 at this point, so 48 times 8 is actually more than what we're currently producing. The biggest problem with what we're going to do here is the fact that we're actually going to build 2 of these up here so that we can do 2 and run, well, a lot of power, at least for a little while. And this is stage 1. We have some more science and research that we have not touched yet. If I get into, okay, right here, this line, nuclear reactor 2, we have to produce 200 MOX fuel, I believe, or this is depleted. Accumulated lifetime production, you need to, whatever the fuel that comes out of these things, we're going to have to do that. That will then get us the nuclear reactor 2, which will also give us a bunch of really complicated, silly things, but a whole lot more power, MOX rods, as well as spent MOX and retired waste, plus a bunch of other little things. For now, we're going to, like I said, run a couple of these, and this is going to be a straight up build it straight off the top of the deal. We're not doing this today. We have to get at least the processing going, because the processing takes a reasonable amount of time. And I suppose actually we can do the math on that. I shouldn't have got rid of those. Simple, easy little thing. No, look at it right here. So 1.5 nuclear rods will produce 288 steam and 1.5 nuclear waste, right? Spent fuel. Okay, good enough here. Anyhow, what we need to figure out here is what the amount we're going to need as far as the uranium rods to be able to be produced to run 2 basic nuclear reactors at this point, understanding that we may want to try to upgrade things later on. So where is the power here? Power reactor nuclear. I believe what we're after is going to be the beginnings of a couple of things. First off, we're going to have to crush this stuff. And I think I'm going to go ahead and build 2 crushers. And I think we might even do something silly like this. Since we have the storage space. Belts are cheap. Terrain too low. Oh, how did I do that? I have no idea. Yeah, I think we'll do... Come off to... I do like my builds at least kind of pretty. And that saves a little bit of space because we're going to need probably a good portion of this. I mean, we'll be able to run, well, most of one of those when we get done with this. So there we go. It's going to go get some goodies for us. Good. All right, you guys are going to do this. Yeah, and I want to be able to do what that thing can do. So we're going to be able to make 144 per minute. That will come off of here. So we'll go ahead and do U-shaped basic belts here to there. And I'm just going to kind of go through some of this carefully just for a minute here, just so that we know what we're doing. And then, again, this is going to be able to produce 72 uranium ore powder per minute. The next step is going to be taking uranium ore powder and turning it into a yellow cake, I believe, using a settling tank. So I'm going to need 4 of those. How much yellow cake does it make to this is the thing. It's been a little while for me to do this. The problem here, again, the problem is the process. As with everybody in the way that they tend to do their nuclear processes, it's complicated. All right, so we're going to need enriched uranium, and enriched uranium, we're going to get 3 yellow cake. That's going to be turned with a little bit of hydrogen fluoride, which we also have to create. It's a long, silly, drawn-out process, basically. There's a whole lot of chemicals and a whole lot of things we have to make in order to be able to do this. But it's going to take 8 of those to produce 8 enriched uranium in an assembly 5 to be able to produce this. I think what we'll do is we'll just run as much of this as we possibly can, given what we have. So anyhow, this is going to produce 72 of this, and again, that is going to be settled out in a settling tank. So if I do something kind of like so, times 2 per each side, understanding I'm going to need room for piping, so scoot it up a little. We should be able to make the... I might try to make the... Well, it just depends. This is, again, this is kind of one of those things I like to do. I kind of like to sit here and make things look pretty, and sometimes pretty is not necessarily easy. That's going to make a lot of that. Wow. Okay, hang on. Are you there? Hello? Did it take it? That's weird. What? That one. And then we also need to make a lot of hydrogen fluoride. Holy cow, hang on a minute. Am I way overbuilding this? Because I'm kind of thinking I need about 3 or 4 of those. How much can this do? 6. This can do 3. So each side can run 2 of these. Kind of like so. Well, I did it again. That. Something like that. Sure. Okay. Now we can run 8 of those. Do I really need to make that much? See, this is why, again, it gets annoying because you start to build various things, and then you get to looking down the line at the other things that you can do. I know I want a lot of power. How many of these can we get in here to make it look nice? So 8. So if I do that, and then do I'm kind of going off the center tank here, how it's got a line. I love how they keep driving in between things like they need to drive between things. So if I go from here to there and here to there, this is just belt spacing kind of. Yeah, you can't get through there anymore, genius. Stop it. That'll give us some room to do some belt spacing in between here should we need to. I think what I'm going to sit here and do, I know I'm going to sit here and kind of play around for a little while. All I want to do is get this episode done to where we're building this recipe, i.e. here, and then start to produce the rods. So essentially all I got to do is sit down and figure out exactly how much I can handle, because this is going to be, I don't know why those didn't copy. That's weird. I thought I told those to copy. Okay, so we're going to be able to make 6 yellow cake out of each of these. These can do 3 yellow cake plus 1 hydrogen fluoride. So I guess the question there is, we need 8 hydrogen fluoride. Hydrogen fluoride is made in one of these, right? I think. Set recipe, go away. You make hydrogen fluoride, so we're going to need 2 of them. So 1 for either side. Why? Why must you drive through here? Whatever. Anyhow, yeah. So this is just going to be gravel and acid, which we're going to have to make on site, which will give us slag and a lot of hydrogen fluoride. Fluoride. I only need 1 of those, don't I? So I might put that over here then so it's accessible. So all of this is going to require acid. That's going to also make 36 of that times, wow. 144. How much can you take care of, my friend? You can do 108. That means I got to do at least 2 of these too. That's a pain in the tail. But this is what I'm saying. We're going to be end up using this to bootstrap this to get it going so that we can then get all of these, because I'm going to basically just take all of these and move them over here along with a very basic system right here. And we're just going to keep, what I'll probably end up doing is converting half of these or most of these over here to use this recipe here, because eventually we're going to get to the point we won't need the coal. This is just going to be running continuously because I'm not going to be shutting it off. I'm just going to let it run. So yeah, let me, I know it's probably boring y'all to death. Let me do a little bit of goofing here. I need to do some understanding and would like to make this a little bit more symmetrical just because it's me. But I also don't want to make it to be a royal pain in the tail to make things work. So let me do a little bit of work. I will be right back. I think I've got it all sorted at this point. I've gone through and kind of looked at a few things, and we should have everything sorted out, ready to go. That took a little bit more work than again, as you wander into this game and you start looking at various processes like nuclear, like aluminum, like titanium, they start to get a little bit more complicated as I kind of come into a little bit on the gold processing, how gold processing requires you to grind the gold several times and then use multiple settling tanks to then run excess stuff into gold furnaces. And that also requires you to clean up the mess that comes up with it, because you end up with, wastewater that you have to do something. Granted, you could just throw it in the ocean if you wanted to, and it wouldn't matter. But again, well, it's same here. You're going to need a bunch of other things. We may eventually, once we get the rest of this kind of figured out, start building acid in a single location and just piping it around. As it is right now, once again, we will be creating it on site as needed. So what's going to happen, and I know this kind of looks like I think it looks all right, at least for the moment, until you get out here and you see this one little thing doing whatever, because that's the one little, I guess I could grab you and put you over here to kind of line it up a little better. There you go. That's still awful. Can I? Well, whatever. No big deal. Anyhow, so what the process basically is, we're going to take the uranium ore, we're going to crush it into uranium powder. That's going to be fed into settling tanks, which will take a little bit of acid and turn that into yellow cake. Yellow cake will then be stuffed into the enrichment plants that are going to cost us an ungodly amount of the purple stuff. All of this is going to take a lot of purple stuff and a lot of other little things. It's going to take a while. We're going to build this half first, and well, I'm going to have to build these two little things over here as well, but yeah, we're going to build this half first and let it kind of slowly propagate itself up so that we can slowly build a few things, and we're going to force feed it right now, at least with trucks. But anyhow, that's the way it's all going to work. This is going to produce a little bit of enriched uranium and a bunch of depleted uranium. The enriched uranium is going to be shoved out into this one particular thing here, and again, it's kind of one of those. This is going to produce 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, right? So we'll be able to make 4 of these per minute should it be able to go, which means we should be making 4 uranium rods per minute, which means we should be able to run, theoretically, 2 of these reactors at max capacity and 1 at a slower capacity should we need to. The last thing I need to do before I get too excited is it's time to introduce the thing that we haven't been using for a little while, and we're going to do that over here. So what I want to do, at least for right now, is we're going to produce or build a little storage facility for this stuff. Before I press the button on that, can I get rid of some of these really quickly? 1 second. I want to make sure I have a place to store the uranium. Now, we haven't been using stackers because, well, I don't tend to generally care about stackers, but they do provide a usable function, and I kind of wanted to talk on them just a second. Stackers, you can use them as a way of being able to, store bulk materials and make them available for later. Now, I know it's kind of hard to see. How about we back you up a little bit, bud, and we'll move you about to there. Stackers will produce a pile of stuff underneath of them, or if you're out here, say, pouring things into the ocean, it will pour stuff into the ocean and then create a pile. Now, I want to make a pile because eventually we're going to be reprocessing these as we go. I'm going to, well, I'm not going to put it down yet. Basically what I want to do is I want to kind of say we're going to maybe put one on the line there. The thing is, the pile will be relatively large. I believe it's something along the lines of about, as big as it says here. It should say actually in the thing what its offset is. Powder rabbits at offset, doesn't really matter. That's fine. But what you do with them is you feed them with a belt. So it's a kind of a way of being able to store things without having to accumulate this. Say like this here, what will end up underneath a stacker is considerably bigger than what will end up in this thing. So it's a way of being able to store a lot of materials out on the ground without burning this process here. So I'm going to build a couple of these, and I'm not even going to put a whole lot next to them. I think we'll just even set that little bitty loose storage here. And yeah, we'll just do you, and we'll do a blue belt into you for now, and you're going to be allowed to just dump whatever's in it. I believe I can take it to offset 1, and that will make it so that it will stop 1 block. I don't even think I can show this. 1 block under where it's at. So even that's like a level, that's level 5. We can still go at least another couple of 5s. But like I said, if you're wanting to store a lot of bulk materials on the ground to be able to use them later, understand you're going to have to treat whatever's dropped down on the ground as a mine, and then mine it back up with an excavator and trucks to move it wherever you need to go. It's a very cheap and simple way of being able to do this. You are going to take the depleted uranium. We're going to attempt to keep you full, and I'm going to build an import route from here to this bucket right there. I think it's this one. Why did I do that? Oh, I did it because I'm being silly. We'll just do that for now, and then you are set to keep empty, and that will be depleted uranium. You're going to be allowed to access it, and yeah, we don't need any of that there. Why are you mad? Because I'm paused? Why are you mad? Oh, because it didn't take what I told it to. There you go. Good. And keep empty. Yes. You should be fine now. Oh, keep full. There we go. All right, so we'll have them start with this first so that they can build that. And then I need to nitpick my way through this mess because I made a mess. I think we can start right there. And there, and there. Kind of build on this fairly slowly. So that's going to be the slag from all the way over here, correct? Yes, I need you and you. You. Build all of the belts and all of that fun stuff, at least on this side first. That's going to need to get built, so that pipeline. You know, I have 90 people not doing anything. Come out of there for now. Oh, we have 120 people. Never mind. I need to change that. Give me some more people. Slowly, we will be filling up this current settlement. Oh, good. They can kind of get in there. That's nice. At least they can kind of get in there over here. I suppose I could probably build that up a little bit so that they could completely get into it, but that's cool. All right, cool. So, you can get paused there, unpaused and built. And that. We already have some stuff. So, okay. I did this basically right here to force feed this. This is going to produce enough water to run this. Actually, it's going to produce too much water to run this. So once we put a little bit of water in this, it should theoretically be able to keep itself happy. But we'll grind a little bit of stuff up, and then that'll go in here to fill up. And then we'll make a little bit of yellow cake. All right, cool. Let's click a couple of more buttons here. Okay, and that one. And then I'm going to turn that one on and that one on. So these are going to make about 36 of this per minute. They're going to take 12. Essentially what I wanted to kind of look at here is this is going to take it's going to take 24 acid per minute to run both of these two, but they're going to output 36 toxic slurry. 36 toxic slurry eventually is going to turn into a reasonably decent amount of water. So it should theoretically be able to feed itself. I may have to keep this on for just a little bit to make sure that this stays full so that it can continue to make the sulfuric acid that it needs. But technically this process will eventually make more water than it's consuming, because we're actually feeding in the this brine into this guy in here. So we're going to take a bunch of toxic slurry, add a little bit of water to it, but essentially the water coming in is 60. We're going to get back, well, what is it, 72? Something like that. So yeah, we'll be making more water than we're consuming. All right. So now all we need is the hydrogen fluoride. Why are we not producing any of that? Because you guys didn't do that. Hang on a minute. I thought I copied. The copy paster thingy is not working for whatever reason. Copy. Paste. Huh, okay, whatever. I thought I had that set to keep full. I don't. Interesting. Keep that full. Weird. Interesting. All right, anyhow, we're going to take a little bit of rock and turn that into stuff once the acid gets down here. I need to complete the acid pipe. Is that it? Yeah. Complete that one, please. I guess you can just build it. All right. That will flow all the way down here. I'm just trying to be careful based on the amount of workers these take. It takes a decent amount of people to run all of this stuff. I mean, these require 26 people. It's a decent amount of people to make just a little bit of fuel. But as soon as that gets down here... All right, so the pipe is yellow, 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 all the way down, coming across. Are we filling up? Why no? Oh, because we're filling the down pipes that I had to build. It's a very minute amount what we make, and it's a very teeny tiny amount of what we're going to use. I think they each use one per, so yeah. There we go. I seen the blinky blink. We're doing this because of the blinky blinks. Why are you not having a yellow... Oh. Okay. And there we go. Very, 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 very slowly, we're making stuff. This is what I'm talking about, right here. When we hit this point right here, for whatever reason... The production over here, it's like it's hitting a bottom spot right here where it dips below this power point. These are not kicking back on quick enough. The system is not capable of keeping up without leaving at least 2 of these on this one side off auto balance. And as soon as I do that, they'll be fine. I don't know why. I need to actually properly split the power between both sides so that that doesn't happen. But that also burns an incredible amount more coal than what we currently would be burning. So I'm not trying to do that too much. But anyhow, you have your first 4. I'm going to go ahead and... Wow, that's taking a lot of power. How much do these take? Oh, yeah, these are taking... Yeah. We're going to kind of, again, do this in pieces. We're going to build this first section first. Then we're going to accumulate a little bit of power, well, a little bit of the rods up, and... We'll see where we go from there. So, how are we doing? Did you guys truck any of this stuff over here and we're starting to make a nasty pile of goodness on the ground? No? Not yet? You can accept assigned only, but you are going to be that anyway. Yeah, I'm a little surprised at how much power that's consuming. But we're processing uranium into depleted uranium and enriched uranium. And that is going to then get stuffed into this little machine here. And once it has enough of this, again, I did it. Give me that. It will make nuclear rods, which we can then put into, or uranium rods, which we can then put into a nuclear reactor to make some more power. There we go. Cool. It's about time. I know it's going to be a while. Okay, so what we're going to do this week, again, I apologize if this is going to be a long deal. I want to try to get these long, drawn-out deals sorted out now so that they're stable, running, and good. I will, in between episodes, I don't think we're going to have enough power to turn on all of it, but I would like to at least, I mean, we can try to do this now. Let's see. Will you guys allow me to run? I know that's 8 megawatts of power. It's going to get real close. Like I said, we may have to shut a few things off, namely like some of this. I don't need all this running as it is, and it's consuming power right now. Let's, there. That'll get us a little power back, and you definitely don't need to be running. Pause that. Actually, that one, yeah, as long as I'm not running science, we're fine. That'll get us a little bit more power back. I'm going to have to kind of do the old dance, I suppose, seeing how things go. But I think I still understand why we're having a hard time keeping up with iron over here. I might need to put another train down because I think we're not keeping up, at least on that line. All right, once those get built, then that should fill up. Makes a little yellow cake into a little bit of goodness. We now have how many rods? A whole 10. Wow, nice. And do we have anything dumping? Not yet. You guys have access to it. Come on. I just want to see it dump once before I know we're okay. All right, I realize it's not all complete. We will leave it sitting as it is, and hopefully fairly soon we'll be able to do something good. They did haul something, finally. I just want to make sure I get to see it do what it's supposed to do before I walk away from it for a little while. We're having a, again, I may need to build another train here, but let's go ahead and pause this so we can see what it does. That will feed stuff out onto the belt, and then it'll pile it on the ground right here. And this shouldn't, as I said, cause pollution. It shouldn't make anybody mad with us as far as how that goes. But what you do here is your next step, if you want, when the time comes, what we'll be doing as the pile reaches the top of the stacker, I will build another stacker here and another stacker here and another stacker here on down the line. We can use this stuff later on to process into, well, other things once we get there. So you're going to need to store it regardless. And what we'll end up doing, like I said, is I'll build a little bitty mining control tower here. We'll put a single excavator and a couple of trucks on it. And when the time comes to reprocess things, we'll truck things back where we need to go. It will end up becoming a nuisance after a while. We will have to probably dump it in the ocean somewhere, but I'm not going to do that for right now. All we got to do, I guess in the next one, is get some reactors going, get some stuff done, more brand new power plants, probably some more water production. I probably will copy the majority of this and lay it down here next to it so that we can convert over into this mess. And then, yeah, we'll see how it goes. So I guess for now, guys, I will see you all in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. We're started uranium processing, and we're going to be working towards nuke reactors next time. See y'all later. Bye.